Hello, and welcome to another edition of HP Modelling. So, I'm going to be building one of these, Airfix DeHavilland 172. As I said in my intro video, Airfix is my go-to brand, purely because of childhood loyalty, I expect. But, yes, I'm rather looking forward to this. So, I'm not one for in-the-box reviews because we buy models, we build them, you get what you get in the box. Before I start building, I always hang up my instructions and I hang up the frames in alphabetical order, so when I need to find parts, I can find the parts that I need. It just makes sense. If the box, as in this one, has the decals and paint scheme on it, I turn it around so I can see it. So far in the build, I have assembled the cockpit. So the seats are in, the control columns, the display, whatever you call it in the cockpit. That sort of thing, that's ready for painting. So what I use is a lollipop stick type thing. Stick that down onto there so it holds it nice. And I've got the two outer fuselage halves as well, ready to paint. According to instructions, this has got to be 33, or as we know it is black. Compressor on. Already loaded the airbrush up. Little test spray. Make sure she's ready. Move those two pieces aside. And we begin the spray. There we go, that's that detailed spray. The black paint I'll put back into the humble pot that it came from. I'm not going to waste that. And then I'll give the airbrush a quick flush through with some alcohol and water to clean for the next painting session. So I finished airbrushing the internal components of the Vampire, cockpit and whatnot. So now I'm going to add a little bit of detail, and to do this, got a small Humbrol brush that came with a previous gift or start set, I forget which one, and a pot of 53 gunmetal, which is one of my favourite paints. So just to do this, gently just fill up the brush, put my extra light on my glasses, and I just very carefully just touch up the detail. So it's just a little bit of interest inside the cockpit, because I'm going to have the canopy open with no pilot, so this may be able to be seen. I'm not entirely 100% sure yet. It's the first one I've built. I just like to add a little bit of interest, and because the interior is black, I figured 53 would be probably likely the best colour to use. in the starter gift pot set things, I've got quite a few of them now actually from all the sets that I've built over the years. What I do is I open the pack, get the paints out. If I've got paints already, then I'll use them. If not, I'll open the pot, add a little tiny bit of thinners, give it a stir with a cocktail stick, and then yeah, store them, shake them, and the pot and the paints are useful, quite frankly, some I've had for years. So yeah, sometimes the pots can be a little bit dry, so I wet the brush first, then dip in for paint. So yeah, there we go, just a little bit of detail to make it interesting. With the pilot seats, I'm going to attempt to do some seat belts and put some wear and tear around the edge of the seats, because I dare say they were aluminium or something in their day. So just a little bit around the edges to give the idea that they've been used and sat in and whatnot. So just a little bit around there, just so it shows where the pilot's shoulders may have rubbed at some point. So I'll carry on painting this, and then varnish, a bit of weathering, put it together. Right, now I'm going to make some seat belts for the Vampire pilot seats. So I pre-painted a piece of Tamiya masking tape from paint. I think it was sail colour paint from the Mary Road starter kit I did years and years and years ago. So you can see how I just cut very, very thin strips into it. Like this. So I'm going to need, I think, maybe 2 or 3. It's just to give the effect that the plane is used and it's not just a model standing on the side. Oopsie daisy. Then I'm going to get the tweezers. There we go. There's a strap. I think, to be honest, it's probably a little bit too thick, but anyway, let's get to the seat. And then I'm going to, that is way too thick. Sorry guys and girls, that is way too thick. So I'm going to do that again. I'm just going to cut one of my 3 ones here. Cut that in half, that'll look a lot better. It is all a bit of trial and error with the kits that you've got. I'm used to doing 148s, this is a 172, so yeah, I sort of lost my scale. But there you go, there comes the seatbelt up, there we go, it's on. So it's just a case of building the tape up to the top of the seat, tucking it in, like that, so, and tucking that down and pulling it under. So the tape basically has 2 good ends to bore it to, otherwise it's going to look a bit silly, daft, whatever. Like that, get another piece, try and do the opposite corner. And there's the opposite corner, stick that in there. Oops. And that's just to overlap it a little bit. I want to stick in there. Lad, feed it into the seat, like that. Oops, don't stick to the tweezers, that's it. Up the side of the seat and back under there again. Just stick around the top like that. Okay. There we go, a nice seatbelt effect. Cost me very little in Tamiya tape. I may touch up that bottom bit there with a bit of 53 to give the impression of a buckle. But yeah, so I'll do the other seat and then we'll be ready to varnish it. The decal I fixed on earlier. So yeah, it's coming together quite nicely. So here's the finished article. So I put the seat belts in, I've given it a coat of varnish, let it all dry. I've even put some like silvery effect scrapes on the deck of the cockpit where the pilot's boots would go. So yeah, I do like the Tamiya seatbelt effect. I think it sort of finishes off the model where some suppliers, Airfix in particular, some others just don't supply that level of detail, and I think it's just a nice touch for me to do that. Anyway, I shall once that varnish is dried, I shall then assemble the fuselage and we'll move on to the next sections, which is looks like the air intakes, jet engine, blah 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 blah. So the varnish is dried, and now I'm going to apply a little bit of snow white weathering because of the darkness of the black. I think any other weathering just isn't going to show up. So I'm going to try a little tiny bit Poundland makeup bud thing, whatever it's called, and just ever so gently just introduce some shading, just a little bit, just to give it a bit of, I don't know what you call it, depth perception, I don't know what you call this thing, but yeah, just to give it a little bit of, so it doesn't appear so dark, because otherwise it's just well, I don't know what the word, but it just, so giving it a bit of a let's focus on my hand, bit of a life, I suppose I'm trying to think of. just a little tiny bit. Panel wash, because it's black, it's just not going to show up. So yeah, just a little bit of depth or something, just to give the model a bit of life. So with the cockpit, I'm just going to put a little tiny bit over the back here, not too much, just a little touch, just to give it a little bit of wear and tear, a little bit of life, a little bit of reality. Give it a blow. Just brings out some lines as well with the actual moulding and whatnot. So yes. Right, now we'll assemble. So we look and see if we can dry fit these pieces. There's lines on there which will really help put the aircraft together. So I'm just going to dry fit them first. And that appears to be quite a nice fit actually. So yeah, that's fine. So for this, I'm going to use a bit of Tamiya, extra thin, because this really is good for doing these sort of things. So a bit of Tamiya in there, just down the bottom there, and that will hold that. In a couple of seconds, that will be glued and in place. I'm just going to move that into position. There we go, and just hold it there. So you can see where I've followed the line of the fuselage half there. So we'll just hold that together. I think that's pretty much set now. Yeah, just go a little tiny bit forward. No, that's it. That's not going to go any more forward than that. The good thing about Tamiya is that's in. That's done. Now we get the other fuselage half. And just put them together. Just dry fit them first. There we go, that's together. Nice little seam there. So again, we get a bit of Tamiya on that bead there. Just run it down the front like that. That will soak in. was a fit problem with the wing root into the rear boom, so I've just had to shave off part of the locating pin there. You can see that in the camera, and just file down that a little bit here, just so when I go to glue I can clamp in position with my trusty hair grips like so, and it all sits nice and flush in the camera view. Hopefully, if I've got that right in the view there, you can see that it's now quite nice and flush. I'll set the glue and then trim the other wing, get it to fit, and I'll carry on with the build in fast motion. So I finished assembling the bits I want to on the Vampire. So all the bits that I need to assemble at the moment before I paint are on and dusted. I need to do some masking and such, but the next step for me is to do the canopy and carry out the masking on that. So I use Tamiya masking tape for this. So very carefully remove the clear parts, and then I tidy with the trusty scalpel as best as possible, just not to leave any cracks and stuff, because that is just a disaster. I'll just release that piece from now. Right, I'll have a close look at it, and it looks as though we've got a windscreen wiper, which is always, windscreen wiper being there, always a bit of a pain, but we'll get around it. So now, Tamiya masking tape, very good stuff. Can't recommend this enough. I'll take a little piece off. And I'll put it over the canopy where it's got to go, or the clear part, whatever you choose to call it. And then push it in as best I can without doing any damage. I always try and line up a straight edge, just makes trimming a lot easier. And then with a clean cocktail stick, cocktail sticks I'm often go to for these sort of things, I'll run the cocktail stick like this inside the frame. This defines the edges for me when I come to use the scalpel. So I just work it round. I'm not tearing the tape, I'm just setting the tape inside. I'll roll it across just to make sure, trying to get all the air out and give me a smooth edge. And then, very carefully, minding my digits, ever so gently cut around the frame of the clear part, like that. Gently releasing the bits as I go. There we go, and it's released lovely. So we'll do the next bit and just gently cut it round. Oops. And that's gone just in that corner there. There we go, that's off. Just that piece there. And around there. I always make sure my scalpel's sharp before I do this. There's nothing worse than using a blunt scalpel when you're trying to mask your clear types. Now you can buy aftermarket masking sets, I suppose they're called. To me, that's an unnecessary expense when this is just as therapeutic. Yeah, I quite enjoy doing this actually. So I'm going to get that all off there. There we go. Now I'll save that bit, and there's a reason why I'm going to save that. I'll show you in a minute. So yeah, that's the canopy mask, and I'm just going to try and cut out the wiper, because when I paint, it would be nice if this had paint on it. Ever so carefully, just cut around that, and and just see if I can peel it off. This is where a good pair of tweezers comes in handy. Just to see if I can lift that away. No, I've not cut it properly. It's not separating as much as I wanted it to. So yeah, just keep on working it. Don't be afraid to push too hard, but not so hard as it damages the clear part. That's quite an important tip there, I suppose. Again, it's just practice, 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 practice. I've not quite cut the edge off yet, so we just give that another. Again, be careful of your digits whilst you're doing this. One slip of a scalpel can end up with the clear part covered in claret, and that's not what any of us want. There we go, that's the wiper now free of the tape. So when I paint, that should be covered up. Now you may have noticed there's a little tiny section there that isn't running true with the mask. So what I will do is, using this little tiny bit I've got left, cut a very, very thin, small section off. Again, using the tweezers once they're cleaned. Lift this piece off, if we can get it. There we go. Just position it in its place and move it around the clear part just to give it, there we go, just to give it that done. There we go. Give it a good push in with the thumb. There we go. And just what I do now, because of the wiper, I've had models where the paint has run under. So just make sure with the masking tape that's definitely in place. Because the last thing you want is acrylic paint going under your mask. Well, as if you use acrylics, I do. I prefer them to oils and such. There we go. That's one screen masked. I'll do the rest off camera because, let's be honest, it's not that exciting. And then, yeah, I'll carry on with the assembly, and then we'll be ready for priming the model for main coat of paint. I've now completed all the build really. Stuck the wheels on and the undercarriage doors, I suppose you can call them. I put some red detailing onto the model, so now it's on to the transfers or decals. So I'll move on with those, and I'll do one on camera and then I'll do the rest off, because well, this video is getting way too long. So yeah, be patient with me. Let's do a decal, maybe two, and then we'll put it up for its final finish. So decals, the finishing touch to any model. My technique is to take a decal sheet, scalpel, pick a decal on a destruction. So I'm going to go for the Kiwi because it's New Zealand Air Force. I have changed the paint scheme a little bit. I found a rather nice picture of a vampire with some red flashes, so I sort of copied that. So yeah, moving on. Get a decal sheet and we cut out the decal. You can do this with scissors. I just choose a scalpel because that's what I prefer doing. Got some grippy tweezers, so I grip the decal in the tweezers and I put it into a pot of normal tap water, nothing else. I'm going to do two at a time here because it's just quicker. I'll get them done. And of course we have Humbrol Decal Fix. I like this brand. It's something that I've grown used to. I know how it reacts. It just seems to be a good system to me. I know there's others on the market, but I just like this one. So why do I use Humbrol? I think it's because, well, I'm a member of the Airfix Club, so I get 10% discount. I get the hobby points whenever I buy anything from that website. Just makes sense to me to save the pennies, as I said earlier in one of my videos, maybe this one. Nothing's cheap these days, is it? So I having already varnished the model, I will spread some very thinly onto the wings where these decals go. And what I'll try and do is put them on there so they're exactly the same position on each wing. So I'll just get a bit longer to coat, soak, sorry. The good thing about I find with Airfix decals is they're pretty quick to release. There we go, that's done. So good tweezers. We take the example from the box. So the Kiwi has got to be facing the beak first towards the front of the aircraft. So I'll just slide it onto there. Now looking at it's about there somewhere, I think. What I do now with Decal Fix is I take a bit more, just gently dab it on top. Now I'll give that a minute or two, so I'll fix the other one on. Release it. And then fix it into position. And again, I'll coat this one on top as well to soak it. And I find it binds brilliantly with the model. Everything sort of soaks in excellently with no problems at all. There we go, that's on. Those can be put to one side. Decal Fix, just to give it a bit of a soak. Now, some might not like this, but it's my way of doing it. I'll just give it a good soaking again. And using the scalpel, I'll position that scalpel upside down to cut the decal, position it where I want it, so roughly about there on both. So I'll do the same with that one. A good soak and then move him into position. position to match that one, which I think is around about the line there and the line there. I think that's around about a bit higher. It's always a pain when you've got duplicate decals that have got figures or something like this on, a bit of detail, because it just makes it a roundel, RAF roundels, very easy. But when you've got something like this, as detailed as this, that's not nowhere near in line. I've just got to turn that round a little bit. That's better. Bring him right round so he's now facing that way, and move him into position. And I think, no, still ran a bit more. There we go. So his foot is lined up with that line, same as that one. Yeah, that's good. Pretty much there, I think. I find on this scalpel it's got a measuring stick, so I sometimes give it a quick, that is 7mm from the bottom. I'll just take this one, measure it, that is also 7mm from the bottom. Jolly good. You can see the mechanical detail there of a flap or something. That seems to be about right. So now I'll get a fresh cotton bud, always a fresh one, never use one that's been used for anything else, and just gently take the air out from the middle, just roll it onto the decal like that. Just roll it in, ever so gently, taking the air out underneath the decal, just so it forms to the panel lines of the model. Whereas a line in the middle will give that an extra hard push to get the decal to settle in. Like that. Give it a good hard push and just work the rest of the decal. There we go. I don't think you can see that on the camera, but the line's starting to form across the centre of the kiwi. And same the other side. Working for the middle out. Get the air out from underneath the decal. Sticker, whatever you want to call it, so many names for these things, I think. Yeah, there we go. Both are fixed. Mop up the excess, just to make sure, because sometimes it can stain. Give it a good push in the middle, as I said, where the panel line is. There we go. Now, to finish off, tiny bit more, and just where that line is, just soften it a little bit there. Just dab it on. And then that, I'll now do the next decals, and when they're on, I'll just go over that and take the excess off, which should be set in quite nicely with and here we have the finished model. So the seat belts have come out really well. Done a bit of weathering, finished the decals, a bit of matte varnish, a bit more Poundland makeup, and she is done. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did making it. I've learnt a lot of lessons over the last few days making this video, and I hope you come back for the next edition. Cheers.